It started with a bark. Not just any bark, but a sharp, jarring, almost alarmed cry that echoed through the painted hallways of Meadowbrook Elementary. Officer Daniel Hart, a seasoned K-9 handler with over 15 years of experience, immediately felt the hairs rise on the back of his neck. Rex, his loyal German Shepherd partner, had never behaved like this before. The children had gathered for what was supposed to be a light-hearted safety demonstration. They were laughing and pointing as Rex obeyed commands and showed off the skills of a trained police dog. But suddenly, Rex turned away from the center of attention. His focus locked on a painting hanging near the back of the hallway wall. A seemingly innocent, colorful canvas, the kind every school proudly displayed. But Rex didn't see art. He saw something else. Something urgent. Daniel tried to pull Rex back, to calm him down, but the dog wouldn't stop. Rex began growling low, scratching furiously at the wall, his snout pressed against the frame. The children behind them fell silent, eyes wide, frozen between confusion and curiosity. Then, with a swift and startling motion, Rex tore the painting from the wall. What was revealed behind it brought complete silence to the hallway. Behind the canvas was a crudely sealed wooden panel, one that didn't match the rest of the structure. Daniel knelt down, heart pounding, and gently pulled it loose. Inside was a hollow cavity filled with dust-covered envelopes, notes, and at the very bottom, a tiny pink sweater. Folded with care. A child's locket attached. The initials engraved on it were simple but powerful, LM. Daniel froze. His breath caught in his throat. LM. Lily Morgan. That name hit like a thunderclap. Lily Morgan had gone missing 5 years ago. She was only 7 at the time. She had vanished from this very school. Posters had gone up. Search parties had combed the woods. Helicopters, vigils, press conferences. And then, nothing. Silence. Her case was eventually labeled cold. Some whispered she had run away. Others believed something darker. But there was never any proof. Her parents never moved. They waited. Hoped. Prayed. And now, here in this forgotten cavity behind a hallway mural, lay remnants of the little girl who had once smiled in class photos and drawn with crayons in these very halls. Daniel's hands shook as he opened one of the envelopes. It contained a child's drawing, a stick figure of a girl holding hands with a man. The man's face had been scribbled out, violently. Another envelope held a diary page. The writing was shaky and inconsistent, but the words were clear. I tried to tell. They said I lie. He said they'll never believe me. Every word Daniel read made his stomach twist tighter. These weren't just innocent drawings. These were cries for help. Hidden. Buried. Ignored. Somehow, someone had known and someone had made sure her voice stayed silent. Word spread through the school like wildfire. Teachers gasped. Parents were called. Students were ushered back to their classrooms. The area was taped off as evidence. Rex stood proudly, but alert, never letting his eyes leave the now exposed hollow. That night, Daniel sat in his cruiser parked outside the school, the little pink sweater beside him. Rex lay in the back seat, still on edge. Daniel thought about his own daughter, just 10 years old. How would he have lived with himself if she had vanished and no one had listened? The investigation reopened within 24 hours. The school staff was questioned. Building records were pulled. Daniel himself led the inquiry with a personal fire that surprised even his fellow officers. The letters revealed a pattern. A staff member's name came up repeatedly, Mr. Sutherland, a janitor who had worked at the school for over a decade. Quiet. Kind. Polite. But his departure had coincided with Lily's disappearance. There had been no red flags in his file. But now, red flags waved everywhere. His apartment had been cleared out suddenly. He had no digital presence. No one had heard from him since he left. The public outcry was immediate. How had no one followed up? Why had no one investigated further? Daniel went to his department's archives and pulled out Lily's file. dust-covered, unopened in years. As he read through the original witness statements, something shattered inside him. Multiple students had mentioned seeing Lily cry. One even said she told the teacher someone was hurting her. But none of it had been escalated. The system had failed her. And it wasn't just a case file now. It was personal. Then came a phone call that changed everything. A woman named Marisol, running a shelter 2 towns away, had seen the viral story on social media. She had seen the photo of the pink sweater. And she froze. 5 years ago, a little girl had shown up outside a bus station near her shelter. Frightened. Barefoot. Barely speaking. She had tried to get her to open up, but the girl never said her name. Marisol took her in as her own, gave her a new name, enrolled her in home tutoring. But now, she was certain the girl she had raised was Lily Morgan. DNA confirmed it within days. The match was perfect. Lily was alive. Scarred. Changed. But alive. The day of the reunion, Daniel and Rex stood at the edge of the school grounds. A crowd had gathered. News vans. Teachers. Parents. Police. The Morgan family waited with trembling hands, unsure what their daughter would look like now. When the van pulled up and Lily stepped out, she was not the same little girl who had once worn pink bows in her hair. She looked older than her years. Cautious. But when her eyes met Rex's, something shifted. She paused. Her lip trembled. And then, in a sudden, uncontrollable moment of release, she dropped her backpack and ran, not toward her parents, but straight toward Rex. The German Shepherd stayed still until she wrapped her arms around him, burying her face into his thick coat, sobbing. It was as if he had pulled her from darkness once again, like he had that day in the hallway. Her parents joined a moment later, collapsing around her in an embrace that pulled the entire town into tears. It wasn't just a reunion. It was a resurrection. Mr. Sutherland was eventually located in a small rural town, hiding under a new identity. Evidence recovered from his property confirmed his involvement in Lily's disappearance and the abuse she had endured. He was arrested, charged, and would face the full weight of justice. But even so, the question hung heavy: how many other voices had gone unheard? Meadowbrook Elementary turned the wall into a memorial. Not just for Lily, but for every child whose voice had been silenced. The painting was never replaced. Instead, a bronze plaque now sits there, engraved with the words, "Let no child ever be ignored." Officer Hart received a commendation. Rex received a Medal of Bravery. But neither of them wanted praise. Daniel only wanted one thing: to never again silence the cry of a child. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in justice and second chances, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Stories like this deserve to be heard, not hidden behind paintings or time. Before you go, please comment below with just one word that describes how this story made you feel. Hopeful, heartbroken, angry, or grateful. We read every word, and your voice keeps these stories alive.